This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing.
Welcome to another episode of Tough Talk Tuesday. As always, I'm your host, Lucas Biggers. Alongside me, my right-hand man, Robert Alexander. What's going on, buddy?
What's up?
Big fight last weekend. We're going to get into that. First, I did want to talk about the undercard. Cameron McCaskill. Rob, did she shake the world?
You know what? Cameron showed us what good boxing can do for you. She really did. As far as it being a shock to the world, my issue with that is that I feel like McCaskill bit on more than she could chew by going back down in weight after she's captured titles in a new weight class. She came back down to defend her titles in this weight class. And sometimes when you're doing that, you're biting off a little bit more than you can chew. And that kind of is what I felt like what happened, because Cameron, the fight, a lot of it had to do with Cameron taking her out of her element, making her uncomfortable. But Jessica just didn't look good in the first half of the fight. She tried to turn it on a bit, and it was too late because Cameron had that great boxing ability. I don't want to take nothing away from the girl, but I'm just saying, they're talking about another fight up at Jessica's new weight class, and I think that one you might see a different outcome. That's all I'm gonna say. But give Cameron her props right now. Before you go on to say anything, I will say that I felt like the commentary was terrible. They were really one-sided for the girl, for Cameron, even before she stepped in the ring against McCaskill. And they weren't giving Jessica enough props, in my opinion. But it was a close fight, even on the scorecards.
Well, DAZ and DAZN, whatever the hell you want to call it, I mean, they've always had some horrible commentating. So I definitely agree with you there. My question I keep trying to ask myself, is it something special that Cameron did, or was it McCaskill off on her game?
I mean,
I can't answer it honestly.
Because it's both. Really, it is both. McCaskill didn't come in, ready. It seemed like she didn't come in looking like herself in the opening rounds, but she did get it together more so in the middle, towards the middle rounds. And at that point, Cameron was so locked in that McCaskill couldn't even do anything to predominantly sway the judges to make it her way.
I mean, McCaskill seemed a ton slower to me. Did she not to you as well?
Well, she did get bumped in the head. I mean, she did get a nice little bump in the head earlier on, and I don't know if that did anything to her. Again, she's moving up and down in weight. That could have something to do with it. Either way, she did look off. But even Lucas, in the later rounds, she didn't have the intensity in the later rounds that she needed. She needed at least a knockdown. If she would have got at least a knockdown or a flurry of punches to get a standing 8 count even, she could have won the fight. And I thought that, if she took a risk in there, she could have tried to do it, but Cameron was just boxing so beautifully.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you 100%. I mean, I really don't have a lot to add to that. I think that puts it right in perspective.
Well, let me ask you this though, with us seeing this from McCaskill and everything, Cameron wants to move up and fight her for her belts at a higher weight class. Do you think that she showed enough to prove that she can not only move up in weight, but move up right away and take those belts?
I mean, from what I saw, it was definitely some confident fighting from Cameron. Now, whether she can handle moving up in that weight class, that's hard to say. That's a mouthful. Um, I, jumping weight, you always kind of want to doubt that person because a lot of times they just hit a brick wall, and sometimes the power doesn't carry over. The speed seems that much slower at that weight. You have a lot of different effects, but I honestly think Cameron will be able to hold her own. But I agree with you in the fact that I do think McCaskill's fight at the higher weight would definitely be into her benefit. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like in this case, she was uncomfortable. She fought uncomfortable. She gets in that bigger weight class and she's comfortable in the ring again. The pressure will be on. Now, I still don't know if she can beat Cameron. And
It's a style clash that's I think favoring Cameron.
and right, and that's why it's intriguing if they do move up to this because McCaskill will be able to show us that power. She'll be able to be more comfortable in the ring, and then we can really see what Cameron is made of. But the real issue at hand too with Jessica, she's got to stop throwing those frailing punches. She goes in and throws those frailing punches and not straight down the middle or land any combination straight down the middle. She's like throwing almost haymakers. They're not really that bad, but it's almost like she's trying to throw haymakers in there at her. And in a fighter like Cameron that's coming straight at you, you got to have discipline enough to be able to land some straight punches in there. And hell, throw a jab.
Agree. And when all it is haymakers, it makes it a pretty easy defense. I mean, all you got to do is put the earmuffs on, and you're good to go. You can counter off that.
Yeah, and again, because they're fighting at the lower weight, Cameron's not carrying any heavier weight on her, so she's the quicker puncher, which showed up that night. She landed first and she landed last.
All right. Well, let's move on. I do want to talk about first and foremost Bivol just schooling Ramirez. And could we potentially see Beterbiev next? Let's talk a little bit about it. Now, I don't know about Beterbiev next. I think that's what everybody wants to see. And hell, I want to see that more than I think I want to see any fight currently that I can think of. I mean,
I say let's put that on the back burner real quick. Okay?
Back burner. You're talking back burner. That should be prime real estate right now.
In terms of topics, let's put that on the back burner for a minute because you have to acknowledge the greatness that this man displayed yet again on a high scale, on a high level. The greatness that he displayed on Saturday night or on Saturday. That was a hell of a showing. And it was after even great performance against a greater boxer in Canelo. When Javi comes on, Javi's going to introduce the man as his moniker, and I'll let Javi do that. But I have the right moniker for Bivol, and I call him the Machine. That's what he is. He is a machine. I'm talking old school Rocky Ivan Drago fit highlights to where you're looking at Drago and they're talking about, is he a man or is he a machine? That's what they need to say about Bivol. He is a machine, well-oiled machine, man. And I can go into details, but I want to hear your thoughts first.
Yeah, I mean, you put it pretty good. I do like the machine reference because he's so analytic. This guy is, how they say, like a master of all trades or a master of a trade. You know what I mean? The jack of all trades, the master of none. Yeah. I don't believe that shit. I think that is Bivol, like, personified, right? He is the master of everything. He's got enough speed that he needs to be where he wants to be. He excels in that. When it comes to defense, of course, Bivol excels in that. Footwork, everything I can think of. Speed and power, though. The speed excels. The power, I think, is sneaky, right? I mean, look how honest he kept Ramirez that whole fight.
So, what is most impressive to me, and I'm really dying to hear what the fans have to say about Bivol now, because if there were any questions about this man, or even any thoughts or notions that the fight versus Canelo was any type of a fluke, he answered that on Saturday night. What's most impressive to me is not only in that Canelo fight, but in the fight against Zurdo Ramirez. Okay, let's face it, a true 175-pound light heavyweight fighter, not to mention the fact that he severely outweighed his opponent that night. They were thinking on the lines of up to 200 pounds in the ring that night. Bivol stood in the middle and didn't go back. He didn't move backwards. And he moved Zurdo backwards. And when he got on the corners, he only stayed there for a few minutes and flurried to get out of off of the ropes. And he beat him there too. And he did the same against Canelo. That's why this guy is scary, okay? Because he will stand there toe-to-toe, and he's not afraid. And he knows that his defense and his game is much, much better than yours.
Well, see, just like I said, a jack of all trades, it's not just that way. It's also stylistically, right? Because you can see him switching between those like it's no problem. He's like, you want to bang? We'll fucking bang. You want to box? I'm outside. I'm on the outside. I'm picking you off with this jab. He can do whatever style, and he'll do it better than somebody who specializes in that style. He's a switch hitter all through and through.
In the middle of the ring. He does it in the middle of the ring, in the middle of the action. And again, going back to how scary he is, you know what? You can sit here and say, you would like to see him have the killer instinct and try to take these guys out. He does that in the middle of the fight. When he
needs to. When Ramirez, every time Ramirez would bring it, and try to turn it up, he's like, you really want to do that? He put the bats on him, and Ramirez was like, fuck that. I'm back on the outside. I'm not getting in there with him. Oh man, how impressed were you with Bivol, Javi? Like, okay, I'm gonna reach out and say something even further, because if you guys remember, even before Bivol Canelo, I said I want to see Bivol beat Beterbiev, and I think it's a possibility. What do you guys think after this fight?
I think that's a fight that there's there to be made. I mean, honestly, you guys saw I picked up Bivol because after what he showed me with the Canelo fight, I pretty much I knew we knew that, but he was a undefeated guy, champion. But let's be honest with you, we didn't really give him a chance with the Canelo fight. After the Canelo fight, he showed up and he showed out. And after that, you have no choice but to be like, oh, wait, this guy is a real one.
It's real.
So this time, I actually went for Bivol. And I mean, Zurdo is the clear example of somebody that is being built up in a way where I wouldn't say the soft way, but it's being more of about padding up the record instead of gradually increasing the opponent, the opposition, and he pretty much paid for it. I don't think he had an answer for Bivol, man, or either that or Bivol is he literally just takes away all your weapons, takes away your will, and next thing you know, it's like you find yourself with not knowing what to do in there. You know what I'm saying? And then, like you guys were saying right now when I jumped in, there's times where Zurdo was pressing the action, but Bivol will not engage. It's like, oh no, we're not doing this on your terms. We're doing this on my terms. And then he will come and he will lit up Zurdo. And I feel like Bivol, if anything, he's when you have a guy that fights for the belt, for the legacy, then you have somebody that's motivated beyond the money, beyond the business, beyond the recognition. And those guys, those are the real killers. Those are the guys that are working day in, day out. And they're not doing this for the money, the recognition, and all that. They're doing this because all they have in their mind is being the best. And I think that's what we're seeing right now.
So
quickly, because we're going to at least have to go through this. I mean, a lot of it's going to get spin on Bivol. Never mind. Let me let you answer. I'm sorry.
So to answer the question, yeah, Beterbiev has to be next. I think he does pose a threat to Bivol. And the key to that fight that we're all going to witness is what happens when Bivol does get thrown off his game. What happens when he has somebody he's facing with serious power? The man has a knockout in every fight. He's knocked out every opponent he's been in the ring against. So there's a challenge, serious challenge for Bivol in that fight with Beterbiev, and vice versa. Bivol would challenge Beterbiev because what will he do when he faces an opponent that not only has scary, sneaky power to get to him, but is a guy that is skilled and tactical to where he's not going to try to let Beterbiev get the knockout. That fight, to me, right now, is, and listen, you heard it here, it's a bigger fight right now than Spence Crawford.
I agree.
Now,
But
I do want to say,
who did you? If you have to pick now, though, which way you leaning?
This is what right. This is what sports is all about, and this is what boxing.
Don't political answer me. Don't political. Say it. Say what you're about to say.
Be all about. You can't depict a winner in this one without studying first. You have to study them both. To be honest, you have to.
He won't do it, Javi. He won't do it. I try to put him in the hot seat. He just won't answer. Look, after what you've seen in the ring, nothing else. No more influence whatsoever. Just what you've seen in the ring from these two guys. Who you going with? Just quickly right now on the spot.
Bivol had the tougher competition out of the two. You got to give the edge to Bivol.
Oh, okay. Javi, hot seat.
You cannot pick a winner on this fight before stuttering. So I'm stuttering a little bit. Bivol, man. I mean, not only because he has the toughest opponents lately, but Beterbiev is kind of slow starters, and he fights in the spots. And I feel like maybe, this is a great matchup. It's 50-50, and I feel like both of them will get the best out of each other. But I feel like this championship rounds that Bivol has put in the bank, that's going to be what gives him the edge. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Beterbiev is a power machine, and he's going to come forward and he hits hard. But so does Bivol. See, Bivol's punches doesn't look like they land hard, but they do damage. They do damage enough where they'll make a fighter like Canelo think about twice about just coming in reckless, and then make a fighter like Zurdo, which is a great body snatcher, think twice about going to the body because they know something is coming back, and it's coming back hard. And his timing, his footwork, everything is on point, man. This guy looks like, honestly, I feel like he's the only guy that has a chance against Beterbiev. And so is Beterbiev the only guy that has a chance against Bivol. So they're pretty like tailor-made for each other. But I will go with Bivol because he has the edge. This championship rounds with Canelo, with Zurdo, that's the type of caliber fights that will take you to the next level. And Bivol is already hitting the next level, where Beterbiev oppositions haven't been the same.
I agree. For me, I just see Beterbiev looking really flat-footed in that fight against Bivol. Bivol would just keep turning him, stay on the outside, and when he wanted to go in, he would go in. I mean, what is Beterbiev going to do to stop it? So you would see Bivol turn to be the more offensive one, and Beterbiev left to defend, and basically he'd be stationary.
You know what? I'm gonna say it. Just because you challenged me, I'm gonna disrespect somebody tonight.
Right.
No, I'm gonna disrespect somebody tonight. It's not gonna be a close fight, okay? Beterbiev is too one-dimensional. Okay. He's too one-dimensional, and he's gonna be trying to do the knockout. And Bivol is I got a new nickname for him, Javi. I'm gonna let you share yours. But my nickname for Bivol, the Machine. The machine. Bivol is going to walk through Beterbiev because he's too one-dimensional. And you know what else? Lucas, think about this right here. Where Bivol is great at is the fact that there's no wasted energy in the ring. Therefore, there's no wasted energy. When he throws off big combinations, he can do that all night. And if he needs to get into a firefight, I think he'll be able to sustain it because he doesn't waste the energy in there. And Bivol is too one-dimensional. There, I said it.
You mean Beterbiev, but yes.
Beterbiev. See, I'm all with Bivol tonight.
I mean, I got two names for Bivol. The New Mexican Assassin and the Will Breaker. This guy literally, like I said, he takes away your weapon. He takes away your will to apply your game plan. Then he takes away your will to fight because you don't want to engage anymore or create the action. And next thing you know, you're caught up in his game. He knows how to lead the action. And just when you think that he's giving you a little bit of the initiative, no, he's just breathing just so he can come back harder and let you know, like, this is my ring right here. We fighting my fight. And honestly, doing it at this level is what makes you say, like, wow, this guy has been underrated. He's been under the radar for so long. We slept on him.
Yeah, and I think, with the work he's put in these last couple of fights against two relatively good fighters, he's made them look amateurish. I mean, neither one were close, guys. We're not talking about a close fights. We are talking about demolishment of Mexico's greatest,
118, 111.
He's
That's
right. And Canelo's was just as bad. It just didn't get scored that way. And we all know why that is. But let's jump topics. I want to roll into that because I could go with that shit all night. Still a little bit more on Bivol, but I do want to talk. Where would you guys put him right now, pound for pound? You got to think about that. We ourselves, guys, just basically said he's the guy to beat in the division because we all say he's going to lose to Beterbiev. And of course, he just, made Canelo his first loss since Floyd Mayweather, right?
We said he's gonna beat Beterbiev. You said lose to. We said he's gonna beat.
Well, yeah, you know what I meant. My bad.
Listen. For one, these guys right here we're talking about, Bivol and Beterbiev, is exactly why Bernard Hopkins got out the sport. Okay, because two guys of this caliber would put him in the grave. So I have Bivol top 5, period. I have Bivol top 5. I have him actually around at number 5.
You know what?
He's closing in on number 1 for me, guys. I mean, he really is. It's hard to put anybody before him. I mean, if you try to argue the resume, even you're just like.
I was about to ask who's his number 1, but I'm afraid. So, but I must admit, this is the first time, or probably the first and maybe the last, that I agree with Rob. I got him on my top five as well. I mean, you can't deny greatness when you see it. You can't deny a certain level of, you know, of a pedigree, I'll say, of a fighter. You cannot deny it when you see it. And this guy, like I said, it's easy to look good against somebody that's tailor made for you. Somebody that is at a lower level than than you. But when you become the guy beating the guys, and you're doing this at a championship level, I mean, you gotta recognize, you gotta respect, when somebody's just doing what he's doing. I mean, a lot of people picked up Zurdo because of the size, because he's a body snatcher, puncher, and all this advantage that he had. Plus, he's a lefty. He literally took away all the advantages that Zurdo had and used it against him. Hey.
Yeah.
In the middle of the ring. In the middle of the ring. He didn't back down at all.
He did everything but bitch slap him. I mean,
yeah. And what's crazy is he didn't even want to take this fight because he said he thought Zurdo would be too easy for him.
That's some gangster ass shit to say. Nah, that's an easy fight. I mean, guys, I can't argue against him. I think right now he's got to be one.
Now,
top three for me. Without me thinking about the rest of the list too deeply, I'm gonna say top three off top.
The crazy part is, Lucas, you can put them anywhere 1 through 5 and have a solid argument. I put him in number 5, and the reason why that's crazy is because he's just getting started. He really is. He's just getting started.
This was his coming out party because I think he's shoe-in, right? Fighter of the year. I mean,
he's shooing for that.
Shooing.
He can make. He has a great case for it. That he can. I mean, he took away the top guy, which is Canelo. He took away the next guy, and he has a big chance. Beterbiev. Once he beats Beterbiev, if he does, I mean, that's the guy right here. That's the guy. You can't deny somebody when they're achieving greatness back to back to back to back at the elite level. So I feel like after Beterbiev, then what's next for him? Because I don't see nobody else as a threat for him. Like, he's really that guy.
Can he go up?
Nah, I don't want to see him go up. Not at all. I want to see him hold ship, be undisputed, and say, you want to fight me? Anybody that wants to come up to this weight class, come on, bring it. And take out the newcomers that have come in this weight class. Take out any and all challengers. Look, let's face it, Canelo ain't gonna go away. Canelo still wants his lick back, so to speak. He still does. Whether or not we all see that as a mistake, and especially I know his team, especially right now, is like, whoa, wait a minute. We don't want this fight next. But that rematch is going to have to happen somewhere down the line.
I hope not.
I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, maybe the strategy is to maybe drain Bivol a little bit, because Bivol kind of hinted about the fact that he'll go down if he has to. Like, he can make 168 or something like that, just so he can give Canelo some type of even feel. So I probably see them aging him a little bit and then try to drain him a bit just to get that advantage. But even like that, I feel like Bivol will win against Canelo any time.
Unless he comes in super drained but I think it's more of a stylistic thing. I don't think Canelo's going to be able to ever really. I mean, they fight 100 times. Canelo maybe catches him once and lays him out, So 1 out of 100, he might get, the lucky punch. But that's what I'm saying. Really, the 2 matchup, I don't care if it's at the lighter or the light heavyweight. It doesn't matter for me.
Well, Canelo's game plan, I felt like for the longest, even in some of these mismatches that people are calling out there for Canelo, and I'm talking Billy Joe Saunders match, I'm talking and Caleb Plant match even. I feel like Canelo wasn't the quicker puncher. He wasn't the better boxer in those fights. He just knew the game plan. He knew how to get his punches in to connect and land, and he landed with some more thunderous shots and ultimately got knockouts. And yeah, he was leading on the scorecards. Again, I think it's because he was able to land big shots throughout those bouts. But I'm saying that to say that when he fights a guy of this caliber who's not afraid, who's this machine like, there is no way for Canelo to beat him using that same strategy because you're not going to be able to wear this guy down into a knockout whatsoever. Canelo is just going to have to look for the knockout, Mike Tyson esque. He's going to have to just solely go into the fight with a game plan that I'm going to take every risk possible throughout this entire fight to get a knockout.
That's the thing is I think Bivol can take anything Canelo can throw at him. Let's face it, Canelo's always been overhyped as far as power is concerned. I think he's always been a little overhyped. I think a lot of that is from knocking out fucking 147-pound fighters. You know what I mean? And Kirkland, you know, come on, man. Like that does not prove. Say what?
I said, good. I got you on your rant. Keep going. Keep going.
That don't prove you got power. You know what I mean? I think at Bivol at his worst, I think he could even still take some of Canelo's best. You know, so I think Bivol wins 99 out of 100. I don't care what he brings. I don't care what style he tries to adapt to. As I said, whatever Canelo can handle, Bivol can do better. But not only that, Bivol's gonna be able to just use his size advantage. I mean, he is a master at the range and knowing when he's, you know, like you guys said, is there's not a lot of wasted energy with Bivol. When he throws, he lands, and he lands a lot. So I mean, he knows when he's within range, and he gets back out. Does he get caught sometimes? Yeah. You know, he's no Floyd Mayweather in there, but defensively, he is very, very sound.
He's very defensively responsible, but yeah, he does get caught. But then that also tells you he has the package. He has a chin. He takes some shots. I mean, and for this game, you're gonna get caught with some punches, and having a chin helps. The guy has a chin. Amazing footwork. Amazing combinations. A great ring IQ. A solid sense of general ringship. Like he owns the ring. He lets you know we gonna do this my way. And whenever you get a little, whenever he takes a breather and you be like, okay, let me apply my game plan. He pulls you back into his game plan. Kind of like you say, right? Look at he bitch slap you, be like, we're doing this my way. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like moving up, I wouldn't like to have moving up. Now he start moving down after he runs out of opponents at 175, and you know you put him in there against the likes of Plant, Benavidez, 168. Then we can have something. You know what I'm saying? I would like to see him at 168 against Plant, against Benavidez. Those are the guys that I don't think they'll win, but I think they'll give him a tough match. They'll give him a run for his money for sure.
Do you think a style like Plant would probably be the worst for Bivol?
No, but I feel like the speed and the ring IQ that the Plant comes with will take a little longer for Bivol to, adjust to him. And Benavidez is just like keeps coming. So that's the more intriguing one for me, because Benavidez is a pressure fighter, and so is Bivol. So they're gonna be fighting for the who's taking the lead here, and that right there is gonna be a match on its own. That's like a match within the match.
And that kind of leads us into our next topic here. Plant Benavidez is signed. Guys, how ecstatic, Rob, are you? I mean, this is a fight that it sounds like something that you would be excited for.
Well, first of all, thank God Benavidez pulled out of that damn you could tie fight and went in this direction. This is the right direction for him. This is the right move for Caleb Plant. Caleb is been in the ring since his last loss, and I think he's learned a lot from that loss versus Canelo. Benavidez is a hungry fighter. He's been begging for these types of fights. Here it is. It's here now. They've struck a deal. Let's get it on. All the marbles, everything. Unfortunately, it's going to be pay-per-view in the first quarter next year. But you know what? It's a very intriguing matchup, and I'm ecstatic for both fighters because we're going to see what they're made that night.
Wait, you said unfortunately it's gonna be pay-per-view. That's what you said.
Mm-hmm.
So you telling me that it's not worth it? You telling me it's not pay-per-view worth it? I mean, you have paid pay-per-view for the likes of Wilder and Hellenius, and
that's
you telling me that Plant and Benavidez is not worth it? Whatever they charge for it.
And that's why I said unfortunately, because this type of fight used to headline HBO. And that's
Yeah.
what we need. We need a free, like Lucas is yelling at them to do. You have Fox, you have a contract. Put these on Fox. Let the American people see it. The reason why I say unfortunately it's on pay-per-view because Deontay Wilder has a name that strikes a chord with the betting public, and they'll want to see him fight on pay-per-view. David Benavidez or Caleb Plant doesn't have it. They don't have the names yet.
Yeah,
I mean, you do have a point. You do have a point, but I feel like um, the casual fans will get more of a kick out of a Plant Benavidez matchup than a Wilder Hellenius or all these other pay-per-views that we have seen. But at the same time, it's like we get the likes of Plant Benavidez, top guys on their division on their prime. If the better view if Bivol gets made, then we get in the top guys on their division and their prime getting made. Then you have Clarissa Shields versus Savannah Marshalls. That was good. Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor. I mean, it seems like there's certain fighters that are not with the bullshit and the promoters are willing to work. The fighters are pushing for it. But then you have the Crawford Spence that is just giving us a bunch of bullshit. They're fighting over Twitter and doing all this stuff. My point is, at what point does the fans withdraw from the BS and be like, you know what? We ain't going to entertain your bullshit until you actually get serious with us. Because we have all these other guys willing to risk it, to take risks so that they can not only build their legacy, but give the fans what we want to watch. And now you have all these other guys blaming each other, pointing fingers at the managers, network, promoters, and blah, blah, blah. And time is passing by. I mean, at some point, there's a reason why MMA it has picked up more than boxing lately. One is like they have fights every week. Second one is like they're matching the top guys against the top guys. There's no, oh, you're on the other side of the street, or have a bell before you face me bullshit. Like there's none of that shit. So at some point they have to realize like, yo, we can marinate this for a little bit and make it cook really good, or you can marinate it too long to the point where it's over seasoned and now nobody wants to have it no more. Like forget about it. So it's a really fine line. And my point is, Plant Benavidez, I know it wasn't really the first option for none of them, but for them to be like, hey, my guy, something happened with my guy, something happened with, you know what? Fuck it. Let's do it since we on a collision course anyways. Might as well just don't need to wait, don't need to season it, let's do it. That shows you the willingness from both sides to say, you know what? Let's get it on. Let's see who's the best in our division, and let's give the fans what they want to watch. And to me, right, whoever wins, of course, you're gonna move on to the next level. Is gonna make a statement. But whoever lose is actually gonna gain the respect for some fans for taking this type of risk, for giving the fans what they want to watch, and for showing people like I'm here willing to put myself against the top guys. I just don't want to have a bunch of Uber drivers on my record. I want to make sure that I'm here. I'm that guy that I say that I am. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah. A lot of fighters, they don't take their career into their hands. They just kind of let it play out through the promotion. I think that's a big problem. But I'm starting to wonder about what Bronner says about PBC. And like you said, why it's pay-per-view, I do not want to take away that this is not going to be an exciting fight. I mean, obviously that. So, but when you're talking about pay-per-view, it starts that ball rolling, like we said with Adrian Bronner saying supposedly Al Heyman's getting more broke, PBC's getting broke. We've heard that before, and everything seems to be pay-per-view now. Why are you not just main eventing Showtime? Do they not do that anymore? Did we just get rid of that? No, I'm serious. Like
with the Brandon Figueroa card. Nah.
It's weird.
Look,
right?
This leads me to a rapid fire question really quick for y'all, because my point in this question, Javi, is why, to me, certain fights of this caliber right now are not pay-per-view worthy. So think for a minute, but literally, when is the last time y'all can legitimately tell me that there was two fighters at the top level of this caliber fighting each other and it be a war?
Jake Paul, Anderson Silva.
I'm ignoring that answer, Lucas.
You said two top guys and it being a war?
And it being a battle. Even a battle.
How top are we talking?
Man, I'll throw my name. I'm talking De La Hoya versus Shane Mosley type fights.
Okay. I just didn't know what you considered top. Like, would you consider top Alvarado Rios? Bradley Vendikov?
Those are exactly. That's what I'm looking for. Exactly what I'm looking for. But how long ago has that been?
It's been a minute.
It depends, though. It depends. I mean, not too long ago, we had, Lomachenko against Rigo. Those like top guys. Two-time Olympic champions.
That's the problem, Hobby. That's the problem. That's the reason why these fights are no longer pay-per-view worthy, because the top guys can fight each other, have fought each other in these divisions, but all they do is fight not to lose. They don't fight to take chances. They don't fight the real grudge match out, so to speak. They don't fight anymore. They don't. It's just boxing now. It's not fighting anymore.
I mean, when you get paid like $3 million to fight somebody who's, maybe barely ranked or, maybe top 25.
I'm sick of hearing about the money. Damn that.
Well, that's all it is. I mean, it's prize fighting to them, right? They're just fighting for the money. A lot of people don't even say legacy when it comes to prize fighting. They don't mention legacy. A lot of fighters want paid, man. That's what this is. And when they can make money for taking, somebody that's not going to beat them the hell up, why would they not do it?
So listen, this fight is worth pay-per-view on the rematch if they get in the ring and go after each other.
We know that. But you look at a fighter's wrist too. I mean, let me tell you this, Rob. You get the choice. You get to choose.
That's why I said, damn that. I said, damn that, Lucas. It used to not be about that.
If I know that, but listen to the offer and tell me you wouldn't do the same thing, right? So you get 3, for sure, probably wins, might challenge you, but for sure you're probably going to look good, right, in front of all these people. And now I say you can have a little bit more money, but you got to fight this one dude, and this one dude might knock you the fuck out. That's gonna worry you and change your answer to that, right?
Yeah, but I feel at the same time.
You're gonna go with them 3 wins.
I'm not going to answer that, but I will tell you this. I was a victim of that once, okay, in a tough man competition. Somebody probably at middleweight, and me and my brother at the time was flyweights. Offered me and my brother to fight him both just so he could look good in a damn tough man competition in front of all the ladies. And you talking about together, me and my brother probably weighed as much as he did, and he had boxed before. I said, hell no. Because you're not going to use me as clickbait to put on social media and that crap nowadays. Like, look, I took on 2 dudes at once and won. That ain't gonna happen over here, buddy.
I mean, we gotta find this footage, man. I'm gonna scour the internet. I gotta see this.
It don't exist because I said no. I said hell no.
You said no.
Yeah, he said no. I mean, I feel like, especially lately in the last 10 years with the Mayweather effect, I feel like we have business fighters and then we have the true killers. The business fighters are the ones that are, and I can blame them. I mean, you do what you got to do. But they look like for the biggest paychecks, the low risk, high reward type of fights. They just looking into the future like, I'm trying to milk the system, get as much as I can while I can, because this boxing game is short, And then you have the true killers, the ones that are taking the risks. The ones that say, man, you know what? The money's good, but I'm here for the legacy. Or bring me that guy. I go to his yard. You know what I'm saying? And those are the guys that make the sport glorious. The other guys might be entertaining, but you could tell that in like 60% of their motivation comes from the money. Well, you have other guys where 80% they just live, shit, sleep boxing, and 80% of the motivation comes from being the best, cementing their legacy, and trying to put their name on the history books of boxing. So I feel like we appreciate both because we do appreciate entertainment, but sometimes us, the fans, we kind of like bring it to ourselves when we, entertain bullshit fights. We complain, we nag, we do all this stuff, but then we entertain those bullshit fights. Guess what? More bullshit fights are going to be made. And then you got guys that take the risk, and, whenever they do take the risk, and then they lose, then we come over here and say, man, this guy was overrated. This guy was this. Man, put him back in the buzz, trying to just write him off. And then that kind of makes that guy think about it twice about taking that next risk. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes we do it to ourselves as fans, as the journalists, the writers, the media in boxing. And I feel like if we start to appreciate more the guys that are taking the risk, then we will get more of what we want. You know what I'm saying? But we are so quick to dismiss somebody when they lose because that's the Mayweather effect. Oh, you have a one loss, 2 loss? Get out of here. You belong back to the bus. And then meanwhile, you have somebody that has like 20, 30 fights, undefeated, but who are they really fighting? They might fight in some solid champions, but past their prime or under certain conditions that is put them at a disadvantage. And then, I mean, what can we complain? We're entertaining that shit.
Yeah, I mean, you got guys though also who do have significant losses. Manny Pacquiao, great example. I mean, if the risk is there, they don't care about the O anymore. Arturo Gatti, these guys brought big money with them all the time.
Those are different eras.
Hey, you can be like that though. What I'm trying to say is a lot of people are just playing it safe nowadays. That's it.
Yeah.
There's guys out there that can do that right now.
Something to say about this, but it's for a rapid fire session.
Well, we're about there, buddy. Ahead. I mean, yeah, go ahead and start
it. We got an important topic to go over next.
Did I miss
I
one?
think Morrell.
Oh yeah,
Morrell.
man, I had one made for that. Where'd it go? Go ahead, Rob. It'll just be a rapid fire thing.
Well, Hobby brought it up. I'm interested in Hobby's perspective of the David Morrell fight.
Oh, you don't.
He's
You want to tell them about?
no.
Okay,
I
okay.
want to hear
You setting
him
them up?
before
Okay.
we go into his
Um,
discussion.
I felt like it was a good fight within the first half of the fight, but after that and early in the rounds, you can see clearly. I wouldn't say it was a mismatch in the first half of the fight, but you can clearly see the damaging punches accumulating. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like David Morrell um, is separate himself from the level of a position that he had that night, and that should have been enough. See, kind of like I was putting in the chat, right? When is it too late and when is it too early? I feel like once you have somebody that's lost most of the rounds, getting shot, getting punched with some clean shots where your head snapping back, you clearly being outmatched. Maybe you had when your condition and your energy levels were up, maybe you had a chance and you're holding your own, but at some point you're just getting picked apart. And what's the point of letting them keep going? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, maybe you can say, hey, I went 12 rounds with this guy, but is a moral victory worth it? Having damaging punches that is going to damage your career? Or at some point, we have these commissions where sometimes the fights can be stopped by the ref, the fights could be stopped by the corner, the fights could be stopped by the doctor. At some point, you got to realize, hey, my guy has nothing for this guy. Let's
I
back it up.
gotta be devil's advocate, right? Because there are
Go
so
ahead.
many fights that we feel was that way, right? We're talking Sergio Martinez, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., right? He wouldn't have been given that chance in that last round because he wouldn't have made it that far.
Corrales.
Castillo Morales wouldn't have happened. These historic moments. And honestly, if you do it too early, the risk is losing the sport. If I'm being dead honest, you look at boxing, and this is the way I see boxing, right? It is the one combat sport that you're able to get knocked down. You got 10 seconds to gather your shit and get back in there. MMA don't have that. No, that's what makes boxing boxing. And I feel you, Javi, because a lot of people die. It's that kind of sport. But that line, as you clearly made it, even then, it still is so gray. You know what I mean?
So Javi,
I will say, though, you're right. If the guy doesn't even have the power, and it's pretty evident, especially when you're in the ring, the sound and the feeling of those punches. So if a guy has power, but if you got a feather-fisted guy and he's still getting picked apart, I agree with you. I think I'm calling that one early. I just look for a reason to stop that one because a lot of these is the long repetitiveness of just getting picked apart that causes these injuries.
so
It is
I
not
agree
the
with
fast
both.
knockout. The fast knockout looks bad, but that's actually not as bad as the repeating, of the jabs and the just getting pummeled in the head.
Right. And I agree with both of you and what both of you said. And all of the fights that Lucas has mentioned there, though, were two fighters to me, and I think all of our opinion of the same caliber. So where Hobby is making his issue, and Hobby, you're absolutely right in this case, because the opponent of David Morrell is now in a medically induced coma after that fight. So I agree with what Javi is saying is that at some point along in the fight, when you see this guy is totally outmatched, or let's even go here. Let's even go here and say if there is absolutely no positive way that you see this person have any chance other than a lucky punch to win the fight, and they're getting beat up severely, then somebody needs to look at stopping this fight
Okay,
sooner than later.
so are we all saying then that the 16-0 record is counterfeit or just not,
I wouldn't say exactly that because you got to
because I
remember.
mean if you're a ref and a matchmaker, right? You got to go off experience. Obviously, you can't go and see all these guys fight. The record is supposed to reflect what's safe and what's not. I mean, it would be different if this guy was 1-52. We're talking about a 16-0 fighter.
All right, Lucas, I want the smoke now. I want the smoke. Because when you talk about that shit, I want to call out Golden Boy right now. I want to call out Oscar De La Hoya and whoever the hell promotes Zurdo Ramirez, because you're trying to sit there and promote this guy as being the next damn Floyd Mayweather, and he's gonna get 52-0, 53-0, and he ain't fought no damn body. And the first time he fights somebody, he gets whitewashed. Whitewashed. So
you're going a little bit too far. Let's just
no,
say
I'm not going too
yes.
far.
You say he looked just as good as Canelo did, but nobody's given that same credit because Canelo's Canelo, right? So let's back off Ramirez a little bit.
No, I'm not going back off Ramirez. He's supposed to be the next Floyd Mayweather, my ass.
Let's put the lid back on that jar of whoop ass, right? It's not like that, I don't think. I think we're going to still see Ramirez continue to do well, just not against Bivol. That's all that is.
So I want to smoke with Lucas. I want to smoke with Golden Boy and whoever the hell promotes Ramirez now. Because where's your 50-0 now? I'm waiting.
Was he 50-0? I thought he was 44-0.
They promoted the guy as being the next Mayweather. Golden Boy De La Hoya went out to say that he's going to beat Mayweather's record of 50-0.
I mean, I don't blame De La Hoya, man. As a promoter, you gotta kind of hype your guy and hype the fight. Make it somewhat interesting where the fans are gonna be like, let me watch this guy. But at the same time, we have this thing in amateur boxing, right, where sometimes you get hit and then you respond well. The ref will let you go on, but sometimes you get hit and your head snap back, then you get this standing 8 count, and that not only gives the ref a sense of, seeing your eyes and gives them a sense of like, let me see where this guy is at, where his eyes looking, how he responding after getting hit with those shots where your head snap back. And I feel like we got in the way a little bit in pro boxing out of him because we used to have a standing 8 counts, and it's not only. I feel like it's some type of safety for the fighters because you give them a little chance to gather themselves and clear their head, and also gives the doctors and the ref a chance to see how the fighters are responding. I knew it deep in my heart when the fight finished, and I think it was Jebus Nosley, his name. When Idos kind of stumbled on his feet, something told me like, "Man, that guy is damaged." And I thought it was like, hopefully it's just fatigue. Hopefully it's just like, just being punished for so many rounds. But to know that he's in critical condition right now, in a coma, and I don't know what other chances, but hey, my point is, sometimes the fighter is a fighter. A fighter trains to fight. And some of them are willing to go on their shield. Some of them are willing to just get knocked out, get dropped, take me out on a stretcher, don't care. But this is when your corner comes in. This is when the doctors on ringside come in. This is when the officials have to save somebody from themselves. And I feel like as much as you want to blame the mismatch and the promoter and this like that, we also should host the officials in charge, the ref, the doctors, the commissions, everybody present in there, being at some point, held responsible for it. Now, hopefully, this guy can come out of the coma and make it to his house, and God knows what will happen. But I mean, what is you know, and maybe I'm a little biased because I'm a coach, and I know when my guys come in the corner, I can see sometimes when their eyes are like they're talking to me and they're looking, but their eyes are like somewhere down the sky looking for something, and I know when they're just tired, and I feel like sometimes the coaches get carried away. And it's like they send their guy day in there knowing that you don't have a chance. I mean, you train this guy for 5, 6 weeks, probably more than that. You know what they have. You know their power. You know their skills. You should know when to pack it up. When to say, hey, you know what? You might not like this, but I'm stopping this. And we've seen it. This time when the corner stopped it and the fighter just have like a tantrum. But guess what? You can live with that. You can complain about it later. This guy doesn't have a chance to complain about it. He's literally fighting for his life right now. And then
Guys,
that's on the corner. Then you have the ref. You literally are the third man in the action. So your job is not only to make sure that everything is being legal and clean and the fight is a proper fight, but you also are somehow responsible of the fighter's safety. And I want to say in all the states, but in some commissions, you do have the power within yourself to stop it, to be like, hey, I had it. And I feel like, if anything, probably would have been too late as well. But after the first knockdown, it should have been stopped. It should have probably been stopped even before for the corner. And how many more of this should we have to see before we we make it a topic and be like, hey, what is going on? Like we demand the tough fights. We demand these guys to get match tough. But when they end up in the hospital in the coma, what we do? We text on the social media, hey, we send prayers. That's not gonna cut it, man. That's not gonna make it. Their family. Some of these guys have nothing. They don't have a backup plan. They don't have a savings account. Literally, their whole family and livelihood depends on them fighting. And when they're gone, it's not only them fighting for their life. Now you have wife, kids, family dealing with the stress that comes with it. And most of this thing happens, the promoters probably cut them a check. Hey, here, but that's not gonna cut it because there's a whole, uncertainty that comes after. I feel like, yeah, it's a brutal sport, and it's not gonna be the last time we see this. But I feel like we should definitely be a little more meticulous when it comes to like stopping the fights. And yeah, the fans, we complain. We complain sometimes like, oh, sometimes when the ref stops it or the corner stops it. But like, again, you can live without complaining and the nagging and the criticism. Sometimes some of the guys don't make it when they get induced in the coma.
guys,
Okay.
these numbers will make you sick to your stomach. According to CompuBox, Morrell outlanded him 237 to 82. He landed 237 punches. Out of that, more than 70% were power punches to the head. When does CompuBox get involved in this, guys? Is that
They
real time?
literally
Listen,
can't. But
is that real time? Can they get that during the fight and have a look at those numbers maybe in between the rounds and say, hey, this guy is getting pummeled. We need to stop the fight.
one, I think it's highly inaccurate anyway. I don't think any of the punch stat stuff, none of that. It's all a roundabout. You know what I mean? I don't think anywhere close.
Something got to give,
to that.
Lucas. Something has to give.
I agree, but this is why we're supposed to have check and balances, as Javi was saying, right? So, as a ref, you can tell, this guy's already not looking good. Let's see if his corner will stop it. It gets to the next round, maybe even the next round. You should at least be able to jump in, and as soon as anything significant lands, stop the fight, right?
So I'm not going to put it on the ref because
it is on the ref. No. Wait. It has to go through all of these channels. It is on every single person.
If you don't, because you sit here and say that about the ref, but then there are times when Tony Weeks get criticized for taking a fight off that was too soon. So
Right.
you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Right there, as the referee is looking for you that throwing punches back. Are you fighting back? Clearly, this guy was fighting back the whole time. He didn't see nothing there to stop the fight. That's one. Two, your corner is solely biased to you as the fighter. And that's where the issue lies too, because as a fighter, you're gonna want to keep fighting. You just want to keep fighting. You don't know any better. So the corner will take a knock on them from that perspective, because the fighter doesn't want to actually end the fight, and that's
the fighter should never end the fight, and you should not
who's paying them, and that's who's paying them. Therefore, you look to the doctors, and clearly they're not doing their job, because this is repetitive. This happens over and over. You need something in there that stops the bleeding, so to speak. You need something in there that you can go to alternate from that, because these three things that you're saying, doctor, corner, ref, they're not working and hasn't been working.
So but that's what I was saying. Like, I'm not holding just only the ref. I mentioned them three that you just mentioned right now. They each have some sense of responsibility. The ref, the corner, and the doctors. Because one is like, first, I'm gonna start with the corner. Not because a lot of people say, well, there's a lot of punishment in these 12 rounds. Guess what? Those 4-6 weeks that they train, there's a lot of punishment too. Sometimes these sparring sessions, they go hard. And so they already come a little damaged to the fight because those sparring sessions. That's one. So if you see your guy has a lot of sparring, hard sparring, the way we call it, and then they come to a night fight, right? Fight night, and you pretty much see them getting out backs, and then you already know, because you've been with him throughout the training camp, damn, he took punishment all throughout the round. Should I let him get into punishment just because I want to get this moral victory? You know what I'm saying?
Thinking about sparring, about the damn sparring sessions when they're in the middle of a fight.
Look, I mean,
you do. Your fighter is giving you 3% of their purse, but beyond that is they're trusting you to make decisions that are beyond their limit. They're trusting you to give them instructions from the outside view that they cannot see when they're in there. They're literally trusting you with their life. This is your responsibility as a coach. They can't get that.
Look, I'm completely on
stopping this fight. I ain't never seen that before.
The evil of the promoter is what does it. Look, if you got a promoter that actually, I would encourage every fighter to promote them damn selves. When you get to a certain point, at least. But if you look at it, right? So who pays the sanctioning body? The promoter. Who's paying that fucking medic? The promoter. Who's paying every fucking body at that show? The promoter. So whose fucking responsibility should it be? Should somebody die? The fucking promoter. I'm gonna say that until I die.
Now it's the promoter's fault.
It is the fucking promoter's fault. What do you mean?
Know the promoter
you put checks and balances, so if it ain't your fault, you better be pointing the finger at whose fault it is, right? Okay. So if the medic is, hold on, let me get this out. If it's the medic's fault, right, then that motherfucker is just trying to get that guy or make him say, okay, he's enough to just keep fighting. No, you need to see if he can actually fucking continue other than just, cuts, bruises. You need to a little quick eval, see if he's all there. It's not rocket science, or it's not a specific science when you're talking about fucking brain chemistry and you getting shook loose. It's not as evident as cuts and bruises. So if the medic's not doing it and the trainer's not doing it, you hold those two accountable, but you should be like, no deaths on my watch. I think every promoter, Bob Arum, Al Heyman, all of them have a death on their conscience, and it should be.
Okay, but who are we talking about putting it in the hands right now? What are we talking about putting it in the hands of? People, right? We know damn good and well people ain't good for that.
Then lose your fucking medical license. Lose your medical license.
It's been happening too long.
Pointing the finger somewhere. The problem is there's no accountability whatsoever on any standpoint.
I agree with you.
So you gotta
take it out of their hands.
And who's
out of their hands?
Whose hands to put it in, Rob?
I'm telling you, you can come up with a copy box can come up with some numbers.
That doesn't say anything. You can get jabbed to death, right? Like Okay, I can have my youngest son. No,
In the head
hold on. A
or in the
youngest
back of
son
the
come down. He's 5. He'll just jab me in the face all night. That doesn't mean I'm ever in danger. CompuBox stats aren't going to tell you that, dude. Like,
And I'm not talking about a jab. I'm talking about damn power punches. They do outweigh power punches
but you're
versus a
just
jab. You
a
can
power
even put
punch. Look,
a
listen, a
point.
power punch is still a style. That doesn't tell you how much damage it did, right? A
Not only
power
that,
punch
but
is an
you got
uppercut. It's
power
a
jabs
hook.
too.
So let
That
me
doesn't
ask
mean
both of
that
you
they
this.
actually have power.
You this thing. If you seen the stat line that said 247 punches have been landed, over 70% power punches, and then they even show you that it's all to the head, you gonna sit there and let somebody continue to fight?
I can show you probably a round that would have 300 landed punches to one guy's like 3, and he knocked him out, right? So again, CompuBox, and that is too hard. And it's not a science that says this person is damaged, right? Whose profession is that? The doctor. And the doctor's getting paid by that promoter, so that doctor better be doing his goddamn job.
Well, they ain't doing it.
I know they ain't doing it, but I think we have to hold them accountable, right? It should be the trainers first. That's why if you're a fighter, I recommend either a pessimist trainer or a realist trainer, but do not get do not get the opposite, because you need somebody that's going to either see it like it is or play on the air of caution, not let you hang out there to dry.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I feel like there's times where, we mostly it's most common to see it when it becomes a dad and son relationship where the dad will risk the son more than a stranger per se, as a coach. But I feel like there's times when the coach becomes a little too involved in the fight, and then he's trying to get a moral victory, but he's not the one getting punched. And like I said, I mean, maybe I'm biased because I'm a coach and I work with my guys, but there's times when my guys are looking good and they come in the corner and I just have to say 2 or 3 things, and I'm confident. I know he's gonna do the next round good. And there's times when like they come at me and literally they're talking to me and their eyes are like all over the place. Their body language are telling me like, man, this is tougher than what I expected. And then that's my job to tell them, listen, I want you to do this. I want you to do that. But if I need to stop this, I'm gonna stop it, because as mad, I'd rather have you mad at me than me having to, you know, regret something that I should have stopped. And this is the amateur level when you have headgear, 12, 14 ounces. When you have 8 ounces gloves and you have a professional fighter hitting you repeatedly to the head, to the body, and you're taking this punishment, and you already got out much. There's no moral victory in boxing. Yeah, I mean, you are to be held responsible, and I said those 3: corner, ref, officials. Because if there's no need for officials, then what the hell you guys are there for? To pick up the body when it's too late? No, we're trying to be preventable. Now, at the same time, it gets confusing when Lucas said, "Well, what about with the record? The record show that this guy is a hard puncher and blah blah blah." We already know what happens with records. Some of these guys become with some small records and they become tough. Some of them have like a wonderful record and they ain't shit. You know what I'm saying? But it's what you see on fight night. Now, what is prior to what to what you heard, what you heard from this person. It's what you see right there. And like I said, mind you, you're not only taking punishment on fight night. You have been taking punishment 4-6 weeks prior to fight night. So if I feel like my guys been getting beat up in sparring, they come and they fight, they're getting beat up at the fight. What's the point? You know what I'm saying? You got a guy that's beat up in sparring the whole training camp, but they look at the fight.
Let
Damn,
me
it was worth it.
let me ask you this though, Javi. Do you think you're in the rarity? Do you think other trainers in your area would do the same?
Well, the thing about it is, eh, every trainer is different, and I can only speak for myself. But I've seen times when the training becomes too involved, and then he's the one sending the fighter out there because he's trying to make a statement, but he's not the one getting punched. He's not the one
He's
taking the
living
punishment.
through him, right?
But hold on, hold on. That's
Exactly.
why I got another question for you, Javi. You
Yeah.
say you're at the amateur level right now. So put you at the level of Zerto and Bivol. You're training one of those guys, putting them out there for the biggest fight of their lives. You don't think your mentality changes?
It does changes because you're dealing at the next level. You know your everything is that comes into play. But you gotta remember too, when there's money involved, there's more greed. When there's
That's what
greed,
I'm
there's less
asking.
there's less of a conscious, there's less of a human heart. So everything becomes more about money, and that's why we sometimes we see what we see. And again, it ain't the first time we see this, and it won't be the last.
But
But I
that's
feel
my
like
point,
I feel
guys.
like we should be a little bit more preventable because at the end of the day, yeah, as much as we like the entertaining, and this is a brutal sport. This is what there is meant to be. You know, two guys that have trained for weeks to hurt each other and give us the best of their best. But at the same time, it's like you pretty much can tell when a guy ran out of weapon. All right, a guy just ran out, just has nothing else to give. Look. For example, you guys saw the before the Morrell fight, right? The banana fight. Banana against I think it's his name Brian Mendoza.
Hmm.
Banana was not happy with the stoppage, but guess what? They can live another day to complain about it. This guy cannot do that, and not only that, but then Banana even talking about retirement and everything. You know why? Because there's a lot of underlying issues with him that a lot of us don't know, right? That a lot of the corners not saying nothing. They know there's a situation in there. I know because I know a friend of a friend. But sometimes these guys come in there and they already got issues in there with their bodies, with their mental, the way they did the weight and everything. So sometimes we demand the fighter to be a fighter, but we don't know what he's coming in with. You know what I'm saying? And this is why sometimes I feel like it's not what you heard, it's not what you saw, it's what you seen right there and then on fight night.
So let's cap this one off. And Lucas, since you want to blame everybody, you forgot to mention the commission, okay? Because you asked about his 16-0 record. Who knows who he's fought? Ain't the commission supposed to be responsible for that? Don't they sanction the bout? Don't they have the ability to stop a fight before it even happens?
Technically, yeah, but you still have an obligation to do it. Look, what it comes down to is, like I said,
It
it
wasn't. It
connects.
wasn't. It wasn't a rant type of question. That was just a simple question.
All right, well, it's a bit of a yes and no.
To cap it off, Lucas and Javi want to blame people and say that these people need to do their jobs. I'm saying that they're not going to. It's a human element, just like Javi said. There's too many human elements involved. You need to create a system and go by that. Take it out of the human element form because it's not working and it's very bad for the sport.
So then
I'm,
what do you suggest? Like if there's no
I,
human element, what do you suggest?
that kind of, hold on, he might be onto something. So if there's something they could wear, maybe like on the back of their head, where you're not supposed to be getting hit anyway, right? It can read your mind waves and stuff like that. Maybe we can be able to tell that way. It's almost like a pre-concussion hat. They can tell, when too much damage is done, and maybe something in the future can be done like that.
Guys, let's be clear
Technology
with
is
you.
there. I mean, you got Fitbits out there that can tell you the heart rate, your heart rate.
Well, I mean, maybe the sport should adapt. Look, there's got to be a way that the sport can get safer and we can still keep this excitement. You know what I mean? Without going too much into the danger. Now, maybe the technology needs to catch up. I don't know. We don't know, but I think that's definitely a possibility going forward. Um, How they go about that, though, I don't know, because I really don't want it to turn into amateurs where we're going to be having headgear on.
No, and you know what? There's a study that says the headgear is actually worse because now you not only have your head snapping back, but you have your head with a little bit of
And,
weight going back. So that's more stress on your brain.
and that reminds me, I wanted to back you up on that 8 count thing. The 8 count was banned, it seemed, because they said it's actually more dangerous because you're allowing the fighter to stay in longer. And I agree with Javi. That's not the case at all. It's actually quite the opposite, right? Because the ref gets to break the action, get a little bit of like, are you okay? And basically award, a knockdown. So everything's fair. He's getting a point, but at the same time, I'm getting to check on this guy and making sure he can stay in the fight. Let's bring back the 8 count, right? I mean, that's a small step in the right direction. I totally agree, Javi.
I feel like I'm not sure what Robert suggests when he says that there's a human element. I don't know if he's trying to bring like artificial intelligence into this or machines, computers. I'm not sure. The whole thing where you guys say where maybe they wear something in their head. Let's be honest, guys. They barely giving these guys something in their purse. They're not even giving them proper health insurance and all this stuff. They're definitely not going to invest in these things. The promoters, the networks, and all of this. So
You're
that's
right.
probably
You're right. So what you're saying is we're thinking a little bit too advanced. Let's break it all the way down and just add a rule or more rules. Something like that.
I'm saying is, it's better to be safe than sorry. And being preventative in a sport that is so brutal that you're taking blows to the head, then that's going to be probably a little more helpful than doing something afterwards when you can do something before. And that includes, the standing 8 counts, definitely being more severe with the PDs checking and all of this stuff. And, just just be willing to take charge as an official, as a ref, as a corner, and not get carried away because the promoters or the networks are telling you, "Hey, we want this, we want that." Like, no, you might want some action, you might want this and that, but at the end of the day, my responsibility is to take care of my guys, and only I know what my guy's been with. I know the way he dropped weight, he cut weight, if he did it the healthy way or he just did it not the healthiest way. I know how much punishment and how many rounds he did of sparring. I know what his body gives, basically him training with me. And that should give me a better idea than everybody else in there to be like, hey,
True. He knows him better than anybody else. Yeah.
Let me make this last point, and this should be the end of it, because I know we all can agree. And the reason why it's not going away unless they adapt or change, it's never going to go away, is because from refs to promoters to commissions to fans to fighters, you all know that it's inevitable that death can happen inside the ring. And that's acceptable because it can happen, and it's always acceptable to happen. And when you take that out of it, then we can have this conversation again about proper changes being made.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though, Rob. We like I said, even applying the thing that we're suggesting, it doesn't guarantee us that that's gonna stop this type of things, because those are casualties that come with the sport. But I feel like we can minimize it. Being preventative might help that.
I think he's questioning society from the sound of it. And what I heard was like, is it even still going to be as popular for sport if we lose deaths in the ring? I mean, let's face it, people like the brutality of boxing. That's one of the reasons you watch. Some people a little bit more sadistic than others, I guess, and want to see people die. I preferably do not. I would like to watch, clean boxing and a sweet science. But unfortunately, like I said, you're going to have deaths. There's a way that we can try to minimize this, but at what point?
Won't be the last.
No, I mean, we could change all of these rules and we could still minimize it, but you you can't stop it. You're talking about fist to the face. I mean,
that's the point I'm
you know
trying
what?
to make. Is,
Yeah.
hold on, Javi. That's the point I'm trying to make. Is even if you throw all of these things, because I can totally see you being and trying to minimize it, will cause an issue with the fans saying that they're stopping these fights too soon.
I can get that too, because that's the way some of these fickle fight fans are, man. I think boxing especially is afraid to change any rule. You know what I mean? We're afraid to change because those fans will be like, "Oh yeah, now what? You're only going to go down to 2 minutes, you pussies!" Like that's the way these dudes are. So I get it. Changing boxing, I think, does draw even more people away from it. All these belts, people don't understand, and you know, all these common
But
fans that haven't kept up with the sport. I don't think it would drive well with them. I agree with you too.
but I
So
will go back to defending my statement. If it's on paper and you see the number and the logistics of the whole thing, you have no choice but to understand why a fight was stopped.
Rob, I agree that they could still use that as another tool. I don't think it should be an end all. Like, you have a certain amount of punches you can take, and, and then we're going to be like, whoa, you might have brain damage. I don't think that's anywhere remotely, connected with the number,
Yeah.
but I think it definitely can be used. If the ref's already questioning, he can reach to that for backup and be like, how many has this dude landed? Oh my God. Okay. I'm stopping the fight. You know what I mean? But, just as a thing to use to say directly no, like the fight has to be stopped. I don't see how that's going to work. But did you have another rapid fire question? We kind of
We
beat
went
that
too
one.
question,
late.
though.
That can be saved for another day.
Okay, Javi, what were you saying?
I have a question. I'm wondering what are the casualties similar to this one in MMA? Because that's another brutal sport, and they're
It's
taking kicks to the head, blows to the head, but I'm sure they have less casualties than us in boxing. And is it because they get a chance to tap out, or not everything is blow to the head? Sometimes they submit a person, they pin them
exactly.
down.
I think Rob's looking it up right now, but that's kind of what I was trying to say earlier, Javi. I mean, you're taking away that if you take away that element, you have boxing because the issue is when they get knocked down, usually they get pounded on immediately, and it's either over or they go right back to a grapple. It's the same thing with like the bare knuckle, the BKFC.
Yeah,
There hasn't been really that many bad because one, you're not throwing full force because you're going to break your damn knuckles if you do. So they don't throw as hard, right? And because that punch is going to knock them down, it's not ruled the same. So they never get that chance to really get back in the groove. The problem is, I think you can get hit, get dazed, get right back in it, get hit, get dazed. And that's the problem where boxing is really, really dangerous. And I think MMA, I mean, Rob, you got to be close to an answer for us, I'm sure. But
There hasn't been any cases.
not one?
No,
Not one.
no, let me finish. No cases in major promotions such as the UFC. However, in the lower leagues, there have been.
That's because
There
any
are
rules go.
and there are a total of MMA deaths linked to MMA or casualties in the ring. There's a little bit more than 9.
Oh, wow.
that's pretty much nothing compared to what we've seen in boxing, though.
Yeah, I mean, even like major cards, you have 3, 4, rememberable ones, and who's to know how many others, the smaller promotions that are still televised.
Yeah, guys, do you guys want to see the Bivol Canelo rematch at 168?
No, I don't think. I think I'm picking Bivol 168 or not. I don't want to see it. I think in my mind it's kind of already made up. I think he's got his number. I mean, he's got Canelo's number. The reach advantage is still going to be there. The size advantage, it won't matter, especially unless they like put a you have a rehydration clause of 2 pounds, which I can see them doing some stupid ass garbage like that. But unless they try some tricky shit, I think he's got his number, man. I'm picking Bivol every time.
Rob,
to answer your question at 168, no. I want to see it back at 175.
I think that's the only way it's legit.
I think Bivol
You know?
should be able to stand his ground at 175 and defend it and be undisputed for a very long time.
Yeah, I think everybody caters to Canelo too much as it is. Like, he made his own division at 155. He's always been the weight bully, and now that he's not, right? People are starting to see, like, man, you ain't all that great. You ain't all that you know, you're beatable, right? I think people are seeing it now more than ever because he's finally at where he was supposed to be originally. I think he's been overdone. I think I've said that multiple times, but I honestly just think Bivol is that much better. He's in every single aspect.
And here's what Bivol would risk at doing that. Because he won in such dominant fashion, there's no reason to go down other than trying to get
right. If you want to look good, you come right back where you were, right?
And the issue with that is we've all seen fighters like the Roy Jones effect, right? He goes down and then wants to come back up, and he could lose something there. And that's why, to me, there's no point in doing that for Canelo, because then you risk longer term effects by you going up and down in weight like that.
I agree. And this is what I love about Bivol is everybody else would be biting at that money, man. I don't think Bivol gives a shit. He wants the titles, man. He wants the glory more than he wants those finances. You know what I mean? He seems like he legitimately just wants to leave a mark as like, I am that dude. I am the best in the sport. And that's what I want inked. I don't care about you inking no check. I care about inking my name in the history books, and that's what this sport has been missing for a long time. I mean, it's
and he should call Canelo's bluff. Is what he should do. Because
I don't think Canelo's calling for it though.
You're not going to.
He was the one that mentioned it. Bivol was the one that mentioned it. He said, "Hey, if anything, if he's complaining that the weight was too big, I can go down to 168."
Right.
But he suggested it. I don't think Canelo was the one that asked for it. Now, Lucas, you might want to name this Javis Rapid Fuego. But I have two more questions, and we can just keep it a yes and no. Clarissa Shields versus Savannah Marshall. You guys want to see a rematch on that one? Yes or no?
No.
Lucas?
Why not? Yeah, I do.
Me too. Yes, me too. I want to see
Javis Happy Fuego. Is that what you said?
Yeah, Javis Rapid Fuego. Michaela versus Bumgarner. You guys want to see that rematch?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Lucas?
No doubt. Yeah, no doubt.
Okay. Amanda Serrano versus Katie Taylor. Do you guys want to see that rematch? Yes or no?
I stabbed somebody for that rematch.
Oh, yes. Okay. I definitely want to see that one.
I think that's fight of the year already. I mean, we're not going to take our official vote right now, but I don't think anything's going to surpass that in this last couple months. I don't see it even as a possibility. I mean, that was a great fight. So we can award them now, as far as I'm concerned, but we'll wait.
All right. I've seen this online too. So I might ask that Wilder versus Fury. You guys want to see that rematch to the rematch?
Oh, I'd rather see them go their own way, right? I mean, what better way to sell a fourth fight for them to go? You know, Wilder goes, knocks out Ruiz, Fury goes, knocks out Usyk or somebody big, and then they can come back and they all meet together again as number one and number two. I think you can sell that fight, and I think it would make it more interesting. I think if you jump right back to it now, I feel like it's too soon for me. I would not want to see it. But if it can build back up, I'm for it.
I'm going to answer it like this. Yes, if it's Fury's last fight.
Okay.
Okay, so any meaningful
Lomachenko,
fight? I see what you're saying. Okay.
Lomachenko versus Loma. You guys want to see that rematch?
You mean Tio?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, what?
My bad. Lomachenko versus Lopez.
No.
I think it's still a good fight. The first fight was good. I mean, what's to not? Why would you say no, Rob? What?
No, Tio is too big.
Everybody's too big for Lomachenko, man. You saw that kid that he fought last time? Loma,
Ooh.
the Ortiz kid?
Tio
Yeah.
is 140 now. He's not going back down, and Lomo's not going up.
Makes sense.
You probably right.
I'm pretty much. Of course, I gotta save the best one for the last. That Jake Paul versus Woodley. You guys want to see it?
Buy him another Rolex, get a KO.
I want money back from MGM Grand on that last fight because I got robbed.
Still was like 50 years old. What you doing betting on a 50-year-old? Somebody.
I want my money back.
Oh man. All right. Been a good show. Thank you all for tuning in. Again, this is Tough Talk Tuesday. We air 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Thank you all for tuning in and have a good night.